Hey guys, thanks for clicking on and checking out this video. This will be my first review for the channel, so it means a lot to me. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game called Ants Took My Eyeball. It's made by a small indie development team in Finland called Bosmic Forge, and it's their first release, which came out in April 2024. So it's been out for a little while now, but if you look at the Steam page, they only have around 200 reviews right now. And of them, a 92% positivity rate, which is awesome, and they absolutely deserve that 92%. Ants Took My Eyeball is a 2D action roguelike platformer that takes place in a procedurally generated anthill, which is just such a cool environment to be A, dungeon crawling around in, but also B, to have procedurally generated. Because, well, it's an anthill. There are millions of them all over the world, and they're all different and all unique, so it just kind of makes sense to my brain in a weird way that they would be procedurally generated. I mean, to me, anthills are really cool. They have all these different chambers and different levels dedicated to different things, all sorts of cool stuff going on in there, and this game really does make the most of that environment. Not to mention, the procedural generation holds up really well. I've been playing this game for like 2 days straight now, and even in between editing, and I have yet to run into a single instance in which an area is blocked off or inaccessible, while at the same time the proc gen maintains a really good quality of difficulty in the levels with traps and sometimes difficult to navigate layouts that feel natural, or in this case authentic. One of the first things that you'll notice in this game is just how crisp and snappy both the movement and the combat feel. It's just so responsive. This game has no input delay, no lag, nothing feels clunky. It's just very matter of fact. And for a small studio to put together such a good player controller, it really makes the game feel that much better. Wait a minute, did you catch that?
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
This game just doesn't cease to impress me. And honestly, if you like games like Catacomb Kids or Cave Blazers, Vagante or Spelunky, stuff like that, this game will be perfect for you. It's just such a good, responsive action platformer seen through the lens of a roguelike. It simply does not fail to impress. It also has really good audio production. The soundtrack to this game is fantastic, and all of the enemies make their own unique noises, and it doesn't really take itself too seriously sometimes, which I think is great. Ants Took My Eyeball follows the classic roguelike recipe. You take a stab into the dark and push as far as you can into the dungeon until you inevitably die. And when you do, you end up back at the beginning in a safe place where you can spend all your currencies that you just accumulated on your previous run or runs. In this game, it's Hamo's house. Hamo's this weird little bug guy who shrunk you down, and he's piggybacking off of your successes. He hates the ants too. He wants you to go mess him up. So you get to spend your currency upgrading his place. And outside of upgrading your character's base health, the currency that you spend enhancing Hamo's house doesn't often directly impact your character, but instead influences the dungeon itself. Whether that's certain plants or buffs that can spawn, or the quality of those things, this progressive upgrading system really lends a hand to potentially better and better runs, instead of just being forced to directly upgrade your character. And in that way, this game lends itself a ton of replayability and accessibility, which in my mind is the classic roguelike recipe. And as any good roguelike player knows, it's often not one particular event that ends a run, but instead a series of unfortunate events that get chained together. And with that in mind, I think Ants Took My Eyeball pays great homage to its predecessors in the genre, as combat isn't inherently difficult or overwhelming, but your enemies are diverse and in mass, where one mistake can quickly lead into 2 or 3, which can spiral a run rapidly. But with all that said, let's hop into the review here. There is so much to be said about the gameplay in this game, and I've already covered some of it. The world generation is fantastic, the proc gen does a really good job at giving unique runs every single time without messing up. The combat is smooth and fluid and rapid, and it just feels good to be smashing bugs. The combat has this kind of strategic element to it, where you can easily identify each of your enemies and what they're going to do, and you're really just trying to counteract them without getting hit in the process. And in that way, it kind of reminds me a lot of Nuclear Throne, or Odenfall, or other similar fast-paced roguelikes. And the snappy movement just really adds into that. The movement reminds me a lot of Celeste. It's really freeform and doesn't castrate you for just wanting to jump around. You start off with a double jump and a dash, and these can be upgraded or augmented, but by default they feel very fitting to the game. You also have the ability to cling to walls, which resets your jumps and dashes, so you can really get around easily. The game also has tons of weapons, from swords and daggers to axes and maces, pistols, shotguns, machine guns, sniper rifles, energy weapons, chemical weapons, and everything in between. And the game really doesn't restrict how many you can carry at once. You have this neat weapon wheel that slows down time, letting you pick between 4 of your current weapons for each category, but you can also carry as much as you want to in your backpack, so you don't need to play an entire run dedicated to one weapon just to test it out. This game does a really good job of not restricting the player's fun, and outside of the challenging level progression, there are also tons of difficult and enjoyable boss fights to figure out as well. It feels like this game takes the best from other roguelikes and just smashes them together in this fantastic, wonderful journey, and it just feels so inviting to play every single time. And for that, I have to give this game 10 stolen eyeballs out of 10 for gameplay. Alright, on to graphics. I personally think this game is absolutely gorgeous, and I understand that pixel art isn't for everybody, but in my eyes, this is one of the prettiest pixel art games out there, and it very easily stands on its own 2 feet as far as design goes. You know, you've got this great contrast between light and dark all over the place, but the lighting in the game is fantastic. It's super immersive, and you know, as you're uncovering these hidden areas, you have this light ray that's being cast that just makes everything look great. I think some pixel art games are too lo-fi and lack a lot of detail, while others kind of do too much and gets very distracting. This game threads the needle between those two things, where you have the perfect amount of quality and the perfect amount of quantity to keep things interesting. All the materials and surfaces are beautifully textured, you know, the lighting in the game is fantastic, all of the enemies are just really well designed and look cool. The game's just overall very immersive from start to finish, and each level just has its own theme and fits really well. On top of that, you know, the game is beautifully animated and has all sorts of little details, like when you hit bugs and all their guts go flying out. There's so much. On top of that, the UI style and everything is minimalistic while still maintaining its own personality. Right now, you're watching the first level of the game, and I've purposely tried to leave out a ton of spoilers and content so that if you do end up purchasing it, it's still a new experience for you. But I can assure you, every level just gets more and more interesting with its art style and lighting. For me, this game is a solid 10 out of 10 when it comes to graphics. Beautiful animations, beautiful lighting, beautiful textures, and it's just wrapped up in this awesome package. And with that, the rest of these categories should fly by. Not because they're not important, but because they're pretty straightforward. The story in Ants Took My Eyeball is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Ants took your eyeball, and you want it back. Do we really need to know more? That being said, I have nothing bad to say about the character narrative in this game, and many times in which it's referenced, it's quite subtle. But nonetheless, it is the only reason I need to go jump into a cave and go kill a bunch of bugs. So for me, I think it's perfect. I would say it probably gets a solid 7 out of 10. It's simple, it's unique, strangely enough, and it's straightforward. And as far as plot coherence goes, it stays true to itself all the way through. Moving on to sound. The audio design in this game is fantastic. The soundtrack in this game is phenomenal on its own. And I know you haven't heard much of it yet, but if you stick around, I'm sure you'll hear a bunch of it. There's no voice acting in the game, and all of the characters are chat box dialogue, but strangely that's okay. I almost feel as if voice acting would actually detract from the simple straightforwardness of the game. But that being said, the audio soundtrack is fantastic. The music is really well paced, and the genres are just perfect for each level. They keep you nice and immersed and ready to kill and active while staying upbeat. It's just well put together. And on top of that, there are subtle cues when you enter certain zones and the music dulls properly and fades out. It just keeps everything kind of in tone for what you're doing. And on top of that, the environment audio is fantastic, and so are the enemies. Every bug has its own unique noise that it makes, and some are goofy and some are serious. All of the weapons sound great, even down to opening up chests and being rewarded with loot. The audio design is fantastic. I'd say it nets a solid 8 out of 10. Moving on to performance, this game just runs flawlessly. I've only encountered maybe 1 or 2 hiccups here or there where my FPS has dropped slightly, but on a 144Hz monitor, it renders beautifully, and I can't see any performance issues. I haven't had any problems with this game crashing or running into any errors. It just runs and runs well. I'd say as far as performance is considered, I'd give this a solid 9 out of 10. There are a couple options in the settings I would love to see, but outside of that, it runs perfectly. I'd say as far as replayability goes, every run in this game is different, and to that end, it's always a good time. Whether you're replaying the same level for the 50th time or branching out into new horizons, it's just a good experience. As far as game length and the value that you get for that time, I would say that most runs probably last between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how well you do. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But every moment is jam-packed with fun. As far as I'm aware, there's no New Game Plus, but I also haven't beat the game yet, so I'm not entirely sure. There's also no online leaderboards or seasonal updates or anything like that. It's just a straightforward classic roguelike. But what it lacks in online capabilities, I think it more than makes up for in quality of gameplay. And for that alone, I would give its replayability a solid 8 out of 10. What's interesting about this game to me is that it both has and hasn't innovated on a lot. As I said before, it kind of took all of the best parts of a lot of different roguelikes and condensed them down into one masterfully crafted form. I don't know that it has needed to innovate very far, but I also recognize that combining all of those elements together and doing it well in itself is innovation. And for that, I'll give it a solid 10 out of 10. Multiplayer is an interesting category for this game. It lacks any form of online co-op or leaderboard support or anything like that, but it does offer couch co-op, and that couch co-op for a game like this seems perfect. It houses up to 4 players on couch co-op, which in a dungeon crawler can just be chaotic, and I'm sure dungeon diving with 4 people in this game would be hilarious. But the lack of any online multiplayer does kind of hurt when multiplayer exists in this game, unlike so many other roguelikes. So for that, I'll give it a solid 6 out of 10. But I would love to see multiplayer co-op come to this game in the future. As far as accessibility goes, I think this game would be phenomenal for a first-time roguelike player. The game is straightforward, and I don't want to call it simple, but it holds your hands in a lot of ways that other roguelikes don't. And in that I mean the quality of life of not having to sort an inventory or make crucial decisions or risk missing out on using a certain weapon or combination of gear. This game just flows very simply, straightforward. Pick up upgrades, purchase upgrades, and keep crushing bugs. It doesn't overcomplicate things. This game does a really good job at not overcomplicating things, while also staying true to not restricting fun. And for that, I give it a solid 9 out of 10 for accessibility. And last but not least, value for money. This game's currently on sale on Steam for 40% off at like $7.50, which to me is mind-blowing. I think this game standard retails for $12, and in my eyes it's worth easily double that. If you like quality roguelikes, this game is well worth the money. You will not waste a cent purchasing this. And if anything, Bosmic Forge deserves every dollar that you spend on it, if not more. As far as the value for your money goes, this game is a solid 10 out of 10. There's no microtransactions, no pay-to-win concerns, no battle passes. If anything, we can be hopeful for DLCs in the future, but it just is what it is. It's a quality, classic roguelike with modern, innovative quality-of-life features. I generally have a rule when it comes to most indie games that if you can get an hour of fun for $1 spent, it's well worth your money. And in this case, the value to price ratio is insane. I will be playing this game for many, many months to come. I hope you do too. So thank you for taking the time to check out my review. It means the world to me that you're even watching this video if you've made it this far. I've put a ton of effort into making this video, and I will too for all future videos. And if you have any ideas as to what games you'd like to see me review or just play next, please feel free to drop a comment below. And if you have any critiques as to how I went about this or things you'd like to see, I would also love to hear about that as well. I hate to do the kitschy YouTube thing, but please like and subscribe. It'll really help my channel out, and as this channel is practically brand new, it will mean the world to me. So thank you again for checking out this video, and please, please, please check this game out. It is one of the best roguelikes I've ever played. All that being said, I'm going to let the rest of this run play out so you can see where I met my unfortunate demise in this particular run, and thank you again for watching. Stay safe and kick ass.